Crash Course Live is presented by
Smash It Demolition Derbies, who host Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, and Capital City Carnage. Online at smashitderby.com. And Stirring Dirt Racing, host of Maymania's team show at the Golden Spike Arena in Ogden, Utah. Online at stirringdirtracing.com.
Reckless Abandon Derby Apparel, and Derby Inc. Magazine. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Marquardt.
Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to this edition of the Crash Course, episode number 306. On deck for everybody tonight. I am flying solo this evening, so we're going to be taking a couple intermissions, making some phone calls, make sure that we can get all of our guests on the air. It is going to be a busy one, to say the least. We've got a bunch of guests joining us. Waiting on the line right now, we've got Mark Elliott. He's going to be recapping the Redneck Rumble and also giving us some updates regarding the United Point Series as that had its kickoff and its official rollout over the weekend. Also going to take a little bit of a preview looking ahead to the Florida Southern Nationals, which is going to go off on Saturday. And then after that, we're going to shift gears. We're going to catch up with Billy Monroe and Jason Padgett. Billy Monroe is working with the Blue Ridge Bash event that's going to be happening in Wytheville, Virginia, coming up on the 22nd of February. Jason Padgett, appearing with him, is overseeing all of the rules for that event, and he is the co-owner of Carolina Derby Promotions. And then we're going to round things out at the quarter to the hour mark with Randy Mosloski, and we might have Brandon Thomas with him, still a little bit fluid at this point, just to take a look at WinterSLAM, because WinterSLAM is coming up on February the 8th, which isn't too awful far away. Trading some messages with Jeremy Ertman about that one. If you're a history buff, you'll recognize today as the 34th anniversary of the Challenger disaster. In 1986, they had sent Space Shuttle Challenger up, and it was due to a leak one of the solid fuel propellants, I believe, and it caused one of the tanks to leak oxygen and hydrogen, liquid versions of both, and it caused an awful explosion, killing everybody on board. So taking a minute to recognize the dedication and service to all the folks that continue in that the space race and what challenges and risks that do come with that on this the anniversary of their passing. Shifting gears, Mark Elliott joining us on the line here. Mark calling. He's been feverishly working the Excel spreadsheets, tabulating points, and in the midst of doing all that, getting ready and doing all of his research so he can go down and announce at the Derby in Florida coming up for the Florida Southern Nationals. Business certainly picking up for you, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing great, Chris. Thanks for having me on, and thanks for giving me the platform to just do a quick recap of Sturgis and the kickoff of the Unified Point Series, and it went great.
I'm glad to hear that it went well. I know there's been a bunch of folks that have had some input and some ideas and kind of keeping you posted on how things are going and what they think, how things should work, what they think. So I guess the first order of business is how did Redneck Rumble go? Then we're going to get into the rollout portion of your point series and the time that you were given at the drivers' meeting to sort of introduce everything. Potentially at the end of the year, you're going to be giving a whole pile of money to somebody who didn't even know that they were running for a points championship per se. How did Redneck Rumble go?
That never gets old, hearing that it's really not their choice. It's happening,
right.
and hopefully they're excited about it. But no, the Redneck Rumble, it exceeded my expectations. I put a lot of pressure on myself for everything that I do, and the pressure was high. About 5:15, looking at a 6:00 start time, and there's the stress of trying to cram those last cars in anyways, and start the show on time, and you know it's being live streamed, so everybody's trying to get their ducks in a row. So that's probably my least favorite part of the Derby in general, just that last half-hour push to try to pull everything together. But and in respects to the point series and pressing play, as I continue to say on that, it took some guts. I could have just pulled the plug, and I probably could have saved face, and people would have been disappointed, but there's so much support, and you mentioned the people that have reached out and supported, and it's no longer about something. There's no I in this by any means. It is a full-fledged we, and a lot of people behind me, a lot of people support it. All those conversations and all those messages and ideas, and there was zero judgment of any of them or offense taken to any of them. They all paid off because it worked great and went great, and we had 2 out of the 5 heats. We had Mad Dogs that placed in the top 5. Or, I'm sorry, in that qualified in the top 3. So we had Mad Dogs in 2 out of the 5 heats. And out of the 5 heats, we had 1 driver that fulfilled the ultimate vision to, as we would call him, the extreme finisher. He, Brad Tussey, the Mini Madness, started the show. I mean, the minis were good anyways, and it came down to him. And when that second place car stalled out, he didn't wait for the clock to run out. Man, he was hitting him as fast as his car would go and as far as it would back up repeatedly, 5 or 6 times until the officials are on the track telling him, stop, you won. It was awesome.
Let's give you a rundown on what we saw there. In the Mini Madness, Brad Tussey coming away with the win overall in that one. Patrick Rankin in second place. Third place, Mark Rosenberger, Juan Velasquez, Brandon Tussey running out the top 5. Patrick Rankin taking Mad Dog. In the co-pilot class, Jordan Shepard and Andy Willis winning there. Corey Parrish and Matt Lancaster following them across the line. Jeremy Brown, Jacob Shepard in third. Kendra Egbert and Derek Ray in fourth. Devin Camp and Austin Oliver in fifth place. Mad Dog went to Chad Parker and Tim Colvett. The metric, the old school class, one of the co-headliners, Kyle Poore won that over Jordan Brown and Todd Robinson. Ryan Staggs winning fourth. Fifth place went to Chandler Daniel. On the bone stock side of things, Luke Worland over Travis Jackson, Jerome Weaver, Cody Klemke, Logan Sorensen, Clinton Bozarth taking Mad Dog at the bone stocks. In the metric class, Michael Kelly winning over Adam Eaton, Brandon Sharp, Luke Bowman, and Luke Worland in the top 5. Trent Smith took Mad Dog honors in the raffle car. That raffle car got turned inside out, didn't
it? Yeah, and he bought that thing. So the guy that won didn't actually run it. Mm-hmm. He sold it for $1,500 cash on the spot, and
right.
So the guy that purchased it jumped in and just absolutely destroyed it. They carried the output shaft off the track in their hand.
Jeez. Well,
yeah.
An investment well made, I suppose. $1,500 worth of time and fun right there, without having to necessarily turn a wrench on the thing. Not too bad.
Yes, it was pretty cool. It was, and it lasted a long time. So, as a raffle car builder, the team always wants the car to fulfill somebody's night of fun, because everybody spends probably more money than they would like to, especially when they don't win it.
We were up here. This is back, probably 2013, 2014, somewhere in there. Jake Doyle went on a run where I think he won 2 or 3 shows in a row. He won the raffle car and won the Derby.
That's awesome. I've never seen that done. I've seen it second place, and I've always believed that it can happen. So that's pretty cool, because I've never witnessed that. And I mean, I believe that everybody that builds a raffle car, they're always a good car. Just very seldomly does somebody win it that is thinking about money. They're going to go out there and trash it.
Right. Did that guy get to take what was left of that car home, or did it stay there?
No. It was that was actually the one of the officials that helped inspect. It was his whole setup. So I believe I don't know if they signed up for Spring Explosion again, but I'm confident that he has a Derby season plan. So at minimum, he's got to build a transmission.
So there's parts left of it on the track. That's I suppose. You go someplace like Bash for Cash and you win the raffle car, you get to take the whole thing home. So you're basically tearing up your own equipment. This case, go out there and drive it like it's your own, and he did just that. No, they gotta put a transmission in it. But awesome situation there for the raffle car program. out there. Now the attention is going to turn for Wicked Derbies to Urban Destruction, correct? That's their next the next date, and you're going to be out there, and that's part of the series.
Yeah, and it's actually in May this year, so it's a little bit later. It's usually in April, and it kind of fell right on top of a spring explosion last year, so I was pretty pleased when I seen that because my May is usually pretty light. So, yeah, Urban Destruction and those guys are already talking about that, and some folks that were there running were signed up for Freedom Hall. That's in March, and I have been trying to rally the troops for somebody from the Redneck Rumble to head to Florida this weekend, and I've got 4 or 5 on the hook that they just need a little shove off the cliff. They're right there. And the closer the Derby gets, and the live videos that Nick's posting and showing the track, I would definitely. For me, it's just fun. This is what people say. What are you getting out of this point series? That's the fun for me. What's fun is that for first place, Brad Tussey, Andy Willis, Jordan Shepard, Kyle Pord, Luke Warland, and Michael Kelly are all tied right now.
Right.
If one of those guys went to Florida and scored third place, now they're in the lead. There's no tie, and I mean that's the way. That's just me. That's the way I want to start out. If you're racing go-karts, you get in the lead and you never look back.
Right. Yeah, it's all about that momentum. You hear a lot of times in circle track racing that, they're going to try it out, see how it goes, and then the team ends up, finishing a couple top threes, pulls off a win in the first 4 weeks, and all of a sudden you see that car at the track every week. It's there at that same track every week. They were going to try it out, but now all of a sudden they got a head start on everybody else, got some momentum built up at the facility, so they're going to keep chasing after and keep going for it. You, on the flip side, you don't have necessarily the home track element because you're going to all these different places, but you're right on the ball. If somebody were to make that jaunt down to Florida and register a top 3, that's going to give them a little bit of an advantage in terms of the overall scheme of things, and I think that's what you want. It's going to come down to consistency is going to be a big piece of the point series that you put together, but on the other side of things, it's also going to come down to turnout. You got to give yourself the opportunities to score points. If you're just sitting at home and hope to do it by running 4 or 5 times, I don't think that's going to be enough.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm not going to name names, but I know guys specifically that came there Saturday to score points, and a couple of them didn't, and that was hard for me. I've said this once, and I try to be an unbiased announcer. I try to root for everybody that's doing well. I try to encourage everybody that's not. And when guys are openly telling me this is awesome, I'm going to be a part of it, or I'm going to win, or whatever they're saying, to watch them get down, a spot or 2 away, like it took a piece of me. Like, damn, I felt for them, because I knew not only, everybody wants to, they've got their goals, but when it's something that I'm vested in, it took a little piece out of me, and something that I didn't expect, or I guess think about, is, guys that I've never met, or maybe that I haven't got a chance to talk to much, that did qualify, and they come up and got their check to the booth, and there was a handshake, and it was just some of them even acknowledged, thank you, like they're a part of a team now. Like, I can't even explain it, but I felt it, and I felt the energy from them, and some of them have messaged me since, and it's like, wow, this is going to be really cool.
How did the rollout go? I mean, what were some of the common questions that you were getting as people were asking it, be it at the driver's meeting or just as you were walking around leading up to the start of Redneck Rumble?
So, thankfully to Mark Klein and that crew, they gave me a platform at 1 o'clock that day.
Yep.
To put it at the World, and I anticipated doing the same in the drivers' meeting. I didn't do half as good as I wanted to in the driver's meeting, and I'm not going to make any excuses. I did not go rule for rule, so much going on, and I just laid it out there, and I took for granted that, you know, all those guys didn't hear the video on Derby Tees maybe, sure. And so if I go back and do it again, I would have communicated a little bit better. But they got the gist of it, and some of them did come up and ask questions. Bill Miller was one, and I had shared with you that he had been asking about the co-pilot since that's what he was running, and you could just see that sigh of relief when I told him that both passengers inside the co-pilot car scored full points. You know, he was real pleased with that. But probably the coolest thing that happened all night is, you mentioned Michael Kelly. He got a big win. He drove his butt off, and I've known Michael for a long time, and we've derbied on the track, and you know, I've seen him come up, is for lack of a better way to put it, and I felt like he drove a hell of a derby. So I took a minute to go down and personally congratulate him and tell him that I was proud of him. And he says, "Hey, did I get double points?" And it hit me. So it hits me then, like, well, I did a terrible job of communicating. And I said, no, the double points, I scratched that. You know, and so in that 6-day stand, I communicated so much, so many days in a row that, you know, if you caught one video and you missed one, or if you didn't follow it like A through Z, you know, then that was a valid question. He didn't know. So I said, oh, no, I scratched the double points, Michael. And he was like, oh, man, that sucks, you know, and I would have got it. And then I kind of clicked into real time, and I'm like, well, why would you have got it? You know, because now I'm thinking, okay, this is reality now. Why would you have got it? And he's like, oh, man, I was pounding that guy at the end. And every Derby driver can relate. Sometimes it just feels like you're wasting somebody inside the car. Then you go back and watch the video. It's like, oh, okay, you know, after you told all your friends how you junked them or made this hard hit, and then it really doesn't look like that. So I said, no, Michael, I'm sorry. If I did have that, you wouldn't have. Why not? And I said, well, you were 10 feet away, and you were keeping his hand off the starter. I've done that not 100 times, but I've done it many times. And I said, I wanted you, what I wanted, what my envision for that was, and what would have scored double points had I went that route.
Right.
I want you to back up to the 50-yard line and throw it in the end zone. You know, and all his buddies are standing there, and they're laughing and going back. And I said, Michael, this was the perfect conversation, because you just validated to me why I dropped it on day 5, because there's nothing on the line tonight but, in your mind, a couple points. Imagine if we were talking about thousands of dollars and you said, I got double points, didn't I? I mean, it would have been, that was $1 million move, dropping that. I liked the idea in the beginning, but the more we simplified it, and every decision that was made to take it where it was, what we went with Saturday, it worked flawless. All Mad Dogs were crystal clear, and like I said, there was only one defined person that just flat out poured it on when that second place car stalled. It couldn't have went any better.
So nobody's scoring any points for Mad Dogs. There's separate entities for that. Points are being paid out for the top 3 finishers overall. So that's going to make that a little bit more simple. There's some nuance to address in the rare instance where you've got a team derby that's part of that people can dive into. The nice part is that you've got a website forthcoming, not to rush anybody.
Yes.
There's a website forthcoming where all of this stuff is going to be in black and white. They can get points updates, things of that nature. Obviously, with you being busy getting ready for Redneck Rumble and now shifting your attention down to the Florida Southern Nationals in Arcadia, Florida, it's not going to be up in the next couple days, but in the not too distant future, there's going to be a one-stop shop where everybody can find that. In addition, you can always jump onto Facebook The ME527 announcing page is going to have the regular updates aired there as well. And then, of course, you can always pop in here to Crash Course, which typically airs Monday nights. We had to shift gears. I'll get to that in just a second. Shift gears so that we could be on here on a Tuesday. They gave us a little bit of time here on a Tuesday so that we could catch up with everybody regarding this weekend and some of the other guests with some topics to talk about. You can pop in here. You're going to be seeing updates featured weekly regarding the point standings, who's where, and it'll also have all the links to everything so that everybody knows where they can find their updates on their own outside of on their own schedules, so they can keep up with everything that's happening with the United Point Series as well. So I'm really glad everything went well for you. The rollout went smooth, and it's good that you had the questions that you did, especially afterwards. You know, because that means that some of those people were paying attention. Some of those guys were. They had their ear to the tracks. They were watching as that coming. They were, or worst case, they were at least listening to you in the driver's meeting and just didn't understand everything. But they knew that some of that stuff was out there. I like the idea of dropping the subjective side of stuff and just leaving it down to the measurable qualitative results. 1, 2, 3. If you get a check, you get points. Simple as that.
And even the part I'm even more excited about after this weekend, after tracking, is although you're not scoring points for the Mad Dog, or as I would call the extreme finisher, although you're not scoring points for those to go towards the top scoring card, those guys are going to be rewarded. And one defined driver is going to have more Mad Dogs than the rest of the people, and Jeffy's Fab Farm is already in on that, and he's not bringing anything to the table that anybody would be afraid to take home and show their friends.
Right.
And I want to make cash prizes for that as well. I want to reward those people, and at the end of the day, if there's a tie, it could come down to those two things. So I want to continue to push the awareness to the drivers to bring that action to the fans, especially inside the money.
Well, I like it. All the stuff trending in the right direction. How excited are you for Florida? You said you were going to be getting into town on Thursday night, right?
Yeah, Thursday night, and I am definitely excited. I would be a liar if I said I wasn't the most excited about scoring some more points. You kind of get ate up with it a little bit, but
right.
No. The Imperials, the wagons, the new model Crown Vics, some things that I've seen floating around on Facebook. It has the ingredients. I try to never say it's going to be an awesome show, because everybody's got to do their part to make it awesome.
Right.
But when you get the ingredients to make it awesome, that's something to be excited about.
The ingredients are there. I agree with you.
Oh yeah.
On that topic, the
yeah.
ingredients are there. It's going to be fun. We're looking forward to getting down there. That is happening on February the 1st, right? Yeah, February the 1st. It's coming up this weekend.
February 1st, live track shot. I mean, it's just going to be a good time.
I think we're going to try and throw it back old school when we're down there. I was trading some ideas and some messages with Josh. We're going to try and do something a little special for everybody, as well, with some of our involvement. That's going to happen on Saturday. It's going to be a busy day Saturday with all the plans and stuff that we got that we're trying to shoehorn into a very finite amount of time before the Derby gets started. But like you said, I think that's the safest way of saying it, is the ingredients are there for it to be a really outstanding Derby.
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't watched the video that Nick just posted pretty much right before you called me, I mean, the place looks phenomenal. So, I mean, where I'm at with that, it's year 2, and regardless of the turnout that we get or the show that we have, if this venue works out as well as it looks like it could, looks like there's plenty of ventilation, there's a PA, and they've got some new concrete blocks that look outstanding. They look like the big ones like at Freedom Hall, real tall, safe for the crowd. And he said that was clay that was hauled in from Georgia. Now, if that's the case, if it's not sand, I mean, we may be in for a treat with them Imperials.
Have you Georgia has one of my favorite racetracks that I've never been to. You ever been to Golden Isle Speedway?
No.
Golden Isles was it's had a bunch of different iterations with how big it was. Half miles, 5/8, they've changed it around a bunch of times. If I remember right, it's near Brunswick. And it was an oil clay track, so the grip that the late models, the super late models, would get coming off the corner was just insane. And it was very, very common. Now, granted, Georgia's a gigantic state. I have no idea where the clay, if it did come from Georgia, if it's even remotely close to this stuff. But when the super late models were there, Earl Peterson Jr. came off of turn 2, and he hammered the gas so hard, he pulled the front wheels of his late model up off the ground and went just about the whole length of the backstretch in a wheel stand. And a late model sprint car, that happens periodically. You see that. But with a late model, it was awesome. Such a grippy, fast track. I mean, they were just so fast on that configuration. So, yeah, Georgia clay. It's got a special place. I would love for something like that to be the surface that they're on, and let's see some wheel standing late models, right? Or wheel standing Imperials, rather.
Well, it's funny because there's such a diverse group of demolition derby drivers that you've got some people that are just sick in the head, and when you tell them stuff like that, they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna pull the," they're ready to hit Mach speed and knock somebody in the next week. And then you got some people that would rather not tear their car up too bad, and when they hear a story like that, they're like, "Gosh, what am I getting into?"
We were up at it was Crossroads, I think. Crossroads of Destruction, maybe. Pretty sure it was Crossroads because we were set up on the opposite side of the track from the grandstands and our backs were to the track. And that was the year that, I'm pretty sure it was Crossroads, that Sam Bando and his brother both brought cars for the Imperial class. And I think one of the boys had a two-door fastback Chrysler with an Imperial sub in it. And he went halfway across the track and hooked a left turn and never lifted and turned the car so hard it was carrying the left front tire just like a modified would. It was a pretty grippy track too, and they beat the crap out of each other that night. They just tore stuff up. I'm really hoping that we can get a little taste of that down there in Florida.
Oh yeah, because it's 2-on-2. I mean, that's a lot of real estate for 2-on-2, and then you got that semi-stock type class that just about always proves to be a pretty good class because there's a little bit more cars out there, and it's got a pretty wide spread of drivers. And then, I mean, you can't help as a fan, whether an announcer or a fan or a driver, to have some high expectations. And I know they're listening, and we're going to go ahead and paint this picture that when you're a promoter and you have a who's going to be the president heat. If the lack of a better term to call it, the winner's going to be the president. Like, you can't do something like that and not throw Hail Marys. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because if you do, then the fans are like, "Oh, that was stupid." You get the feature cars out there. Come on, this is stupid. So that they have to. They got to put it in the end zone.
So, did they score points for that?
Oh, that's the $1 million question there. That's never even crossed my mind.
Theoretically, it's an exhibition.
Yeah, I mean, I was asked if I'm scoring points for adult Power Wheels at the Turkey Derby, and I quickly said no. I don't know that. I don't think that would be fair to openly say to the entire demolition derby community, if for nothing else, that this is all in fun for them. They don't want to tank their own show by running, so to speak, against the competition. If I had to write the story, I think, number one, they like to run, so if you've got toys, why not play with them? But two, I think that a promoter would always like a better car count and more cars to sign up, and I think what better of a way to kind of fill some of that gap if you do have the resources to, like they do,
right,
to fill that gap with your own action, and that's not an easy we're not talking about dragging them down to New Alex.
No.
They're dragging them from Pennsylvania to Florida.
Right. And they gave us a rundown. There's going to be an Imperial, Cadillac, and there was 2 others, but I can't remember what they were. It's not like they're throwaway cars either. They're going to be good rides. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Right, and J.C. Miles, that dude can find the winner's circle anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's come out to Pennsylvania and found it. So, his car might not be quite the drag car that Steve's going to be in probably, but I mean it's anybody's game. And Todd already went ahead and threw it out there that Steve was the first to go. So
right.
I would be surprised if Steve didn't go straight after Todd right out the gate.
It's going to be a lot of fun. All of it's going to air on TrackShot, Derby Tix USA online. If you're looking for links, follow Josh Decker. He's going to have some information up there. We'll get you links as well as to where you can go sign up for that. If you're looking to follow more information on the point series for the interim, jump online, ME527 announcing. If you're looking for the page directly, it's Elliott527, Facebook.com/Elliott527. Mark, I got to go, man. I appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you for the recap. I got to get Billy and Jason on to hang out for a few minutes, but I will see you this weekend.
Great. Safe flight, and I'll see you and Brian, sounds like Saturday morning.
Saturday morning after the sun comes up.
Okie doke.
I'll see you later. Bye, Mark.
Bye.
There goes Mark Elliott checking in with some details from the Redneck Rumble. So let's take a quick peek at some of this while we are getting the boys on the phone. Actually, I am incorrect. Let's take a quick look at that. That one might be a little bit better. There it is. Capital City Carnage coming up around the corner. We talked about all the derbies that were happening. That is another one of the big ones on the radar. There we go. Coming up on the radar. That is going to be happening at the Stormont Vale Event Center. Online for more details, CapitalCityCarnage.com. Stormont Vale Event Center, that was formerly the Kansas Expo Center. Capital City Carnage, hosted by Smash It Demolition Derbies, limited world class, paying $10,000 to win. $2,500 Mad Dog Award, 50-car limit there. The two-man extreme class, $10,000 to win, $2,500 Mad Dog Award, 50-car limit. Added this year. Is that Billy? We got you, guys? Hey. We'll add you here in just a second. Hang on with me. Front-wheel drive Hobo stock and the Weld Street stocks added this year. Also on the cards, the Weld Compacts and the Modifieds. To support classes, there's a 25-car limit, $2,500 to win, and they're paying the top 4. Again, that event happens March 6th and 7th online, CapitalCityCarnage.com. So, as we move along through number 306, we have Billy Monroe and Jason Padgett joining us here on the line. Billy Monroe working on Blue Ridge Bash. It's happening in Wytheville, Virginia. Jason Padgett, co-owner of the Carolina Derby Promotions, helping out with the rules side of the program. Guys, welcome to the show.
Hey, appreciate you having us on.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks so much for coming on. Tell me more about what we can expect with this. Show's starting to gain some momentum there. It's always good to see new shows popping up, and this one it certainly has the attention of a lot of the contacts that we have in the Woodstock area. They're looking to make the trip down.
Oh, yeah, we've to start with, we wasn't going to have it, and we decided at the last minute everything worked out. We decided to put it on, and it's just been blown away with the interest on this derby. All the classes are full, have around 140 cars pre-entered. Have 5 classes, so it looks like it's going to be a good show.
I mean, 140 cars. What's your game plan to getting all those inspected and through so that you guys are ready for the influx of action when finally everything gets going?
Oh yeah, we're going to have 2. We'll have 2 lanes. We're going to do minivans and the little cars in one lane, and then all the big V8 stuff in another lane, and just going to ask everybody to get there early and be on time, work with us to try to get them all inspected.
Tell me a little bit more about the process here. Not so much the process of coming up with the show, but the switches that had to fall so that the show actually happened. You guys weren't going to do it. But then sort of late in the going, everything fell the right way and you guys decided to move forward. So how did that all come to pass?
Well, we had some problems with dates in the venue, and at the last minute, some stuff worked out, and we was able to secure a date in February, and that's really when we wanted to have the show. Was around the same date as last year, and everything just sort of worked out and come together at the last minute. We was kind of worried about the how the interest would be, but it turned out to be really good.
Well, I think there's a market there. When you look at what Chaos in the Valley was able to do, first in Woodstock and then at the new facility here, I can't remember what town that was in now. I'm blanking on it. But there's obviously a standalone show interest. Chaos in the Valley was able to expand to have a spring show that stands alone, in addition to the fall show prior to that. The Rumble at the Rock over at the Rockingham County Fairgrounds. That always had a lot of solid support. Brian Schumann was in charge of that one. So I think there's a hunger and a desire to travel outside of the county fair confines, and there's a desire to go be part of a big national show. Yet still some of the guys in Virginia seem like they're just not ready to take that next leap. We've seen some of them jump out and run at Bash for Cash the last several years. Jason Shipe and some of the guys made the trip out to run at Bash for Cash in the fall. When you get that big show atmosphere and that big show feel, and it drops right in your backyard, as close to home as it at least for some of the guys that we're talking about here in the context of that driver population. Why not go? It just makes sense to, and you're so close to some of the other bordering states that have major events. You think about Winter War Zone happening in Pine City, Tennessee. You've got some of the bleed over from that. You've got Ohio, West Virginia, and North Carolina. It just makes sense that you guys are going to have that pocket of talent that's going to want to come, because they don't have to drive to Florida. They don't have to drive to Arkansas. They don't have to drive to Kentucky to be part of something special. They've got it right there in the home area. So I really think that you guys, as long as everything goes smooth with tech inspection, you don't have anybody jumping too far out of whack there, and all the checks clear at the end of the night, I think you guys have captured a little bit of lightning in a bottle. You've got a good thing going.
Yeah, absolutely. I think location is definitely key for that derby in particular, because we've got drivers coming from 9 different states.
Wow, that's outstanding.
Yeah.
So I got to believe you probably pulled some of that crew from up there on the Maryland border. They must be coming down Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia. Yeah.
Got some Ohio, Kentucky, North South Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. So.
Well, that's outstanding. Some details on the show. It's going to be happening at the Appalachian Regional Expo Center. It's 290 Ready Mix Road in Wytheville, Virginia. Tickets are $8 for adults, not too bad. They're $8 for kids, $15 for adults. Pit passes are $25. Spectator gates open at 5:00. Pit gates open at 9 in the morning. Tech closes at 4. Classes are the 80s and up stock, $2,000 to win. Front wheel drive compacts, $1,000 to win. The full size class, $1,200 to win, and there's going to be kids' Power Wheels in addition to the minivan and SUV class. So a little bit of everything for everyone in that one. I see on the show flyers, Millbridge Speedway is highlighted on that. What's Millbridge Speedway? What do they do?
Well, they run. I don't know if you've seen them. They come on Mad TV sometimes. They're these little mini sprints,
right?
And they have a racetrack right near Mooresville, North Carolina, which is, the hotbed for NASCAR.
Yeah.
And they run on Wednesday nights, and they actually lined up the facility, and they also have a sprint kart race there the following weekend. Mm-hmm. And we do a local derby for them at a county fair. And that's kind of how this whole thing come together. They asked us to come along, and that's how we ended up with doing a derby in Virginia.
How familiar are you with the Wytheville area?
Not very, to be honest with you.
Not so much. Wyth is the home of Dr. Pepper. I'm sure everybody already knew that, for anybody keeping track of the soft drink history of Wytheville, Virginia. But there's a racetrack up on the hill on 81 near, I think it was exit 274, called With Raceway, that Fred Brown used to operate, that I worked at for a short time. They ran super late models and cray late models, and in and around that area in, I think it was Bassett Speedway, had a French Grimes sprint car program, was real popular in that area in terms of the sprint cars. Up here we have 360s and 410s, but that 305 program was very strong down there. So when you're talking about the mini sprint program at Millbridge, and anybody listening, if you'll just indulge me a moment for my circle track interest, are you talking about like the 600 micro sprints, or are you talking about those 305s?
Yeah, I think it's the micro sprint.
Perfect.
I know.
Cool.
I know. On a Wednesday night, they might have Kyle Larson,
right?
Stenhouse, people like that. They come
That's
race.
Cool. Awesome.
Through the week.
That's crazy. So I mean, what's the? I don't want to say what's the goal, because the goal is you want to have a good derby that everybody leaves happy from, and it's Demolition Derby, so that probably won't happen. But all in all, everybody's going to be pretty content after the derby's over with. What's the end game? What's the mission, I guess? I mean, is this something that you want to have on the schedule long term, and have this thing build into something where you're pulling drivers from New England and having drivers coming up out of Florida, and have this thing be a real East Coast go-to event?
I think so. I think our game plan, we tried 2 last year up there. We tried one in August, and we figured out that August was a terrible time to have one in Virginia, because there's so many county fairs going on that we didn't know about. And so I think definitely we'd like to grow it, get the purse money up there in the future, and try to make it, a marquee event for drivers to come to.
Well, I think if the drivers know that you're in it for the long haul, and they know that you're going to be there for a while, and this is something that you guys are willing to build and willing to invest in, and really make this special, that you guys are going to enjoy some of the same success that Jason and Penny saw when they were building their program over there with Chaos in the Valley. The indoor element of this is going to be huge. There's nothing like running indoors, and we've heard that conversation happen time and time again from drivers all over the United States. Just being able to pull into that arena, the atmosphere, and you just can't beat it. Obviously, ventilation is going to be a big part of it. Is this facility typically used for like rodeo, or is this usually used for more expo type stuff?
Well, they've just been open 1 year. I think the first Blue Ridge Bash was like the second or third event that they had even held there. And I've seen monster trucks.
Right.
They've done the kart race, motorcycle race, rodeos. So they got a little bit of everything going on up there.
That's awesome. So I mean, they sound like they're at least familiar enough with the hauler program, and getting things moved in and out effectively and efficiently is going to be, that's a good sign for the flow of the show.
And from last year to this year, they did add some ventilation. So, it's one of those things where you don't know till it happens, how much it helps. But they are definitely trying to help it. And it wasn't terrible last year. But you had indoor show, you're going to have some smoke. So they did add some ventilation. So hopefully that'll help a little bit.
What's been the biggest surprise so far? I mean, beyond just the roaring interest, it's amazing what people are willing to do in February that they weren't able to do in August. But what else has surprised you, or been one of the big challenges in terms of getting this thing off the ground?
I think one of the big things was just from last year, just the level of respect and everything we was treated by the drivers. Everybody was just thankful for us to put on a show up there.
Sure.
And that was really nice. It was they were all very grateful, and we appreciate them for coming out and putting on a show for us,
Right. Have you ever done anything this size with 140 cars? I mean, I heard you reference a bit ago the county fair connection. Have you ever seen anything with 140 cars quite like this?
No. Our county fair, when we took it over in 2015, and it had probably 30 cars. And last year we do it 2 weeks two Saturday nights of the fair, and last year we had 94 and 92 at a county fair. So that's the biggest crowd we've handled. So we're excited to have a few more, and we've added a lot of help, to help us out with these entries. So
absolutely,
hopefully everything goes smooth.
Well, I sure hope so. I was excited to hear about it. Getting an indoor show in Virginia, it's a good pickup. I think it was Big Sandy Arena in West Virginia. That was one of the closest ones for an indoor show that I remember Virginia having. So it was nice to see that pop up there on the radar. And you guys got a great time of the year. February 22nd. It's things are starting to get a little bit better in that part of the country. So I really wish you well. I hope everything goes strong. I'm hoping that we might be able to catch up with you afterwards, at least follow up and see how everything went, and maybe even check in a little bit closer if you guys are going to be releasing a driver's list. Love to know who's coming and talk a little bit with them.
Absolutely, and if you're not doing anything, come on out, because these guys, they get on with it. From the driver's list that I've seen, from the guys in Virginia and a lot of the guys from North Carolina, they're there to put on shows. So it should be entertaining to watch. Just from
the people that have checked in and let me know that they're coming there, you're gonna have a great show. It's gonna be awesome. You guys are gonna be plenty entertained at Blue Ridge Bash 2020 coming up February the 22nd, Appalachian Regional Expo Center, 290 Ready Mix Road, Wytheville, Virginia. Online, you can find more information, facebook.com/Carolina Derby Promotions, making the trip up to break into the Wytheville area. Guys, I appreciate you coming on the show and hanging out for a little bit. We got some information out there. The links again, facebook.com/Carolina Derby Promotions. That's with an S on the end. Billy Monroe, Jason Padgett. We got a little bit of time before we get to the show. Maybe we can catch up again and catch some more information before we get to the showtime, February 22nd.
Absolutely. Sounds good.
Guys, thanks for coming on the show. Greatly appreciate it.
Appreciate you having us on.
We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.
Bye. All right, so now we're going to switch gears on that and head up to the North Country. Catch up with Randy Mosloski, as they are about 2 weeks away from WinterSLAM taking flight. That's going to be a good one. It always is. Hopefully Randy remembers we were going to call him about this time. Traded some messages with Mr. Ertman today. Do we have Randy? I think we got him. There's Randy. All right, so Randy, the burning question is, did you find a Tonka truck for this year?
Find a what?
The Tonka truck. Don't you always do a Tonka truck that you beat up and everything for WinterSLAM?
No, well, so the Hardest Hitter Trophy usually have a Tonka truck on it.
Yeah, that's the one.
For the trucks?
Yeah.
I don't know if Terry's got one on there this year or not. I haven't seen him yet.
I was at a flea market or something last summer, and I happened to see one, and I thought about you, and then by the time we circled back, it was already gone. So I assume that Terry Evans must have been on the grounds as well.
Yeah.
So how's WinterSLAM coming? I mean, it's we see cars getting built, a lot of names starting to pop up that are familiar that we've seen making the trip up there year in and year out. How's all the planning coming?
It's coming along pretty good. As far as entries goes, we got drivers from 7 states again this year. some new states, actually.
Really?
We got Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, North Dakota, Montana, Illinois, and Missouri.
Montana, so that means that Carson Dixon might be his tow record might be in question this year.
Yes, it very well could be.
You sound awful relaxed, I gotta say. Usually when we talk to you a couple weeks before the show, you're a little bit more uptight. You sound like you're in a pretty good spot. Are things finally to a point where this thing's kind of running itself? Everybody knows when it's coming. They know how the application process works, and you just kind of pull the switches as needed?
Yeah, it's not too bad. I mean, the more years you get under your belt, the easier it is, of course. But, we got 3 different people with me, Jeremy, and Brandon Thomas helps out a lot. So, everybody does their own little thing, and things kind of come together quite nicely.
Sure. many hands make light work.
Yes, very much so.
You guys continue to be recognized nationally. It went from being just kind of a, hey, let's have a derby outside in February and see how many people can contract frostbite, to being a show that really a lot of attention gets put on. Your space in the schedule, though, is becoming increasingly crowded with more and more shows looking for space to fill gaps. We just talked to the folks there in Virginia about having a show indoors February the 22nd. You guys are going to be going live February the 8th. We've got the option of going down to Florida February the 1st. Just last weekend was Redneck Rumble. By the same token, you're still drawing new drivers. You're still loaded to the gills with fans, and you're still pulling from an even wider base now, adding Montana and some of these other new states. Is it reputation alone, or is there that much additional promotion work to be done in order to make yourselves stand out?
I think it's still part of the deal is just the nostalgia of it. Mm-hmm. I mean, to come check it out and do it in the middle of winter outside, I think it just kind of draws attention for that for the most part. And then, I guess the way we run things are a little bit different than a lot of these other shows, where you're just running a one-shot feature, right, 35 at a time. It's pretty hard to ever experience that unless you're running some of these bigger shows that their features actually have that many cars out there at once.
Sure. I mean, I think we were out there in 2014. What was the first year for WinterSLAM?
Well, this is our 10th year now.
This is 10, right? So we were out there in 14, in February of 14. That was back at the Blue Earth County Fairgrounds, and we have seen the new facility over here in St. Peter. It's an awesome facility, plenty more space in terms of where you're trying to pit. The grandstand setup is a little bit more fan friendly as well. And are they doing the closed circuit TV feed again so that you can get inside the barn and not miss anything?
I haven't heard that part of it, and not that I'm aware of.
No.
They tried to do that there a couple years, but I believe we got it set up to where the beer tent is actually going to be trackside this year.
Fantastic.
So I don't know that it's going to be necessary because they'll have an end view of the track to be able to watch right straight from there if we keep the spectators away from it.
Right. I remember one of the big changes when we were traveling out there on a regular basis was detuning the trucks to make the trucks a more viable entry. It wasn't giant dinosaurs anymore, something that had to be old iron. You could run a truck. The truck got beat up. It got tore up. The vehicles were shredded. And we've seen some of the best truck action that we've ever seen coming out there to WinterSLAM. But other than that, everything in my recollection was pretty consistent from the years prior to where we're at right now. But you said there was a little bit of tweaking to the rules. Did anything major get changed for any of the divisions for this year?
There's a couple minor rules. There's like the 80s teen class. We're having some feelings that the 03s were starting to dominate a little too much. And just like many other shows, we walked away from them. Just trying to get some of our traditional 80 cars back in the picture again.
Sure. And
then I guess weld class, there might have been some minor rules, but our weld class is really similar to what the limited weld is down at Blizzard Bash. It's very, very comparable, with an exception of a couple rules. So I don't know.
You got to run a little bit at Blizzard Bash this year, running on the compact team. How did that go for you in terms of figuring things out and maybe building stronger cars for at home?
As far as running down there, you mean?
Yeah, getting built to that. It seems like the compact game down there keeps getting stiffer and stiffer.
Yeah, it certainly does. It gets harder and harder.
Right. Well, where I was going with that was
getting knocked silly this year. That was fun.
Well, where I was going with that was some more of the guys that typically run at WinterSLAM are also venturing down there on a more regular basis and figuring things out. Is the inspection process getting more complicated and more challenging as more of those tricks from the middle part of the country with the heavier builds are starting to trickle a little bit further north now?
We don't really see that because the rules that we have up here for the compacts,
right,
are very, very light.
Yep.
So you're not even anywhere close to the similar build as down there. You really can't even push them extra rules because you don't have much.
Right. Well, that's good. I didn't know how much that stuff was starting to sneak in terms of the applications. If they're trying to. I mean, obviously, you guys have a pretty good tech line.
I'm not saying they're not trying to.
There it is. It was.
That's inevitable, but but it's like I said, the build is so much different, and instead of people doing all the extras to try to cheat some welds or do certain things that way, we give them an extra body mount to hold the cradle up. And it takes like 10 minutes to do it, and it makes the car so much stronger that it's pointless, to try to even mess around doing much than anything else.
And also,
you throw them in quick, and away you go. You don't have to worry about spending all the hours and weeks and months trying to put a car together.
Sure. The other thing that came to mind is a lot of guys come to this show not necessarily too far past the even keel, because you don't want to have to go out there and have to cut and torch and screw around that much in the pits, especially if it's like 7 degrees outside. You want to be able to get through tech inspection and be done with it.
Well, and not only that, if you might be the third one in line to get through your first time, but if you got several things you got to go back and cut, that line's pretty damn long. You're going to be sitting in line wasting your whole day, and that's your own fault.
That's for sure. Compacts, trucks, 80 chain class, and then the limited weld type if you're from a little bit more central in the United States. The order of the day: 4 one-and-dones, 35 cars per class, an outstanding payout. The show is always great front to back, and you got to be there live to see it. And there's not going to be any live streaming element, mostly because the cameras won't hold up to it because it usually gets so cold. But you got to get up there. It's a destination derby. You have to go at least once to go and be part of and see what WinterSLAM is all about, because it's like nothing else. And then the coolest thing about WinterSLAM is after the derby's over with, after all the cars are wrecked, and you might be thinking in your head, 35 cars at a time, this is going to take forever. There's been times that we've been up there for heats with a full field that take 17, 18, 25 minutes. They go fast because everybody up there drives hard. But you guys have an after party, a driver's appreciation event following the derby where everybody gets together. So they go bang heads on the track, and then they go party all night at the Best Western or whatever local establishments signed up. You guys doing that again this year?
Yeah, we got the Best Western, which is now changed to Norwood Inn, but still the same place there in North Mankato. Mm-hmm. Got the same band coming back from last year, which is called Hicktown Mafia. Mm-hmm. I know you weren't up here last year, but they were very, very awesome. Yeah. There was a lot of good times that were had down there. You
guys haven't had a bad band there since you started bringing the bands in.
Well, I can agree with that, I guess. We haven't had nothing too sparse at all.
No, it's always been good. Turnout's always been strong. It's one of the best demolition derbies that happens throughout the course of the year, and it is a lot of fun. The competition level is up there. You get to see some of the best talent in Minnesota and some of the names that you haven't heard of, and then you also get to see some names that you have definitely heard of. Go out there and lock horns at an awesome facility in St. Peter. You can't go wrong. Are there still tickets available, or has the place sold out?
We don't do any pre-sale tickets. It's just day of the event only.
I misunderstood that. I have always thought that you guys sold tickets at the Star Group Napa locations.
No, we have.
All right. Well, I learned something.
That's our primary sponsor.
Right.
And they do give away a certain amount of free tickets. That comes as part of their sponsorship deal that we have with them. Mm-hmm. But as far as any pre-sale, no, it's just day of the event only.
All right.
And we're doing it the same way we had last year. Is $20. You get you on the fairgrounds. You can get your wristband right from your car when you enter the fairgrounds. You don't have to sit in no ticket lines.
Right.
And then go in, park, and then you have all access to anywhere you want to go except for the inspection area and impound area. Other than that, you got free roam, the whole facility to enjoy the swap meet. The swap meet starts at 10 o'clock in the morning, and that's indoors heated on part of it. And then there's other people that bring trucks and trailers, and they park outside that area. If they got a lot of parts they want to sell, that they don't want to haul in and out of the heated building. It ends up being pretty crowded up there with the amount of people that show up.
It sure does. There's been years that we've been at St. Peter, and it had recently snowed, and it was like the tundra. You're driving on snow, you don't even see the ground. It is such an experience front to back. The vendors area was always packed, and adding that heated vendors space is a huge boon to the event as a whole. Go in there, thaw out for a little while, look around, spend some money, and then head back out to enjoy the Derby itself. I also seem to remember the St. Peter facility offering you a little bit extra sunlight. The sun doesn't go down quite as fast as when you're down in the riverbed.
Very true. It probably gives us about an extra half an hour.
Half an hour is a lot when you're in Minnesota in February.
That is true. That is true. At least so far. Not that I really want to talk about it, but
don't.
The weather looks better than it has in the last couple. I hope it stays that way.
Well, I hope the weather is outstanding for you, that it stays cold enough to keep the track solid and it stays warm enough for people to hang around in hoodies.
Yeah, I don't know one thing, too. If you happen to notice on Terry's page, but this is our 10th year.
Mm-hmm.
And this is also Terry Evans' last year of building Badass Trophies.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be retiring after WinterSLAM. But our hardest hitter trophies are probably going to need a forklift to load them up, or a skid loader, because they're 6 foot tall.
They're going to be huge. I don't know how they're going to get them home.
But either way, I can foresee they're going to be awful heavy.
That's awesome, and the Derby world is losing a legend when Terry stops welding trophies together. You know, there's a lot of folks that took that lead and started their own, and it's awesome to see how that has continued to grow, and the artistry has really come up. You know, they're absolute works of art. You know, you've seen bulldogs and all sorts of animals, and the towering creations like Terry's doing. So it's awesome he's doing that. You know, going out with a bang in his last year with those monster heavy hitter trophies.
Yeah, then we also got Jonathan Muse. He's been a sponsor for us the last few years as well, and he's also sponsoring in every class the runner-ups. He's got some gift certificates that are going to go their way to be able to go towards his products as well.
Sure. Awesome. I mean,
so at least if you're close in contention, at least you're going to get something in second place.
You're going to get something. That's outstanding. He's such a good dude anyway. I mean, he'd help anybody that he can. Now he's getting behind and helping WinterSLAM. He's vended up there for ages, hasn't he?
Yeah, probably pretty much since we started.
Yeah, from the get-go.
Since he started, I guess.
Right, yeah. I don't really know what came first there. It's going back a long time. Well, Randy, you got an outstanding team out there. I'm glad everything's going so well. Get in line, and if you can make the drive out, you're going to want to see it. WinterSLAM 2020 10-year anniversary. Congratulations on running for 10 years. That's quite a run for any demolition derby in this day and age, and you've carved out a nice niche for yourself. Destination Derby, you guys got to get up there. On Facebook, if you want more information, jump online. Facebook.com, just punch in WinterSLAM. It comes right up, and there's also a dedicated parts trader page, too. If you're looking to move a car, sell a car, you're looking to drop off or exchange whatever, you can use WinterSLAM as your backside of that, taking a nice derby. Is there anything else that we got to hit on for Napa WinterSLAM, Randy?
I think we kind of went around the world, I believe. Just give some special thanks to everybody that helps put it on. It takes a lot of volunteers and a lot of people to do what we have to do. Brandon with the fairgrounds, he does a lot of work even in the summer. After they finish up their fair stuff, he's already prepping the grounds for WinterSLAM, so that way everything's all nice and smooth come wintertime.
Right.
You know, gets everything all prepped up ahead of time for that. Helps line up, being he's right there in St. Peter, he lines a lot of things up for us, so he's been a big help.
I lost my train of thought there. In terms of the grounds, you ended up trailing a bunch of excavators in a bunch of different times to expedite the process of turning the track over. Have you got any local support on that now?
I believe we've got a little bit in with the city. The city helps us out quite a bit with that. They come in, and I think they do a lot of the fairground snow removal, and if they need heavy equipment when it comes time to it, they'll help us as we need.
That's fantastic. That's good. I mean, the both locations that you had, the city, the community itself was always really big in supporting the show, so that's also good to see. 10th anniversary for Napa WinterSLAM happening this year. Randy Mosloski, Jeremy Ertman, Brandon Thomas bringing this one to you on February the 8th. Make sure you get out there, support that show. Stop by, say hi to John Muse and all the vendors up in the heated area, and you're going to see 140 cars get wrecked in a hurry over the course of 4 one-and-dones, compacts, trucks, 80s chain class, and the vault class coming up February the 8th. Randy, man, I appreciate you making some time for us. I'm glad to hear everything is going so well. How's your summer season coming together?
Really haven't done anything for summer at all.
No, nothing.
No, I've been busy enough that I just become a new owner last year of Mazda's Midtown Auto, and
right.
It's been taking up a lot of my free time trying to take care of other people on different levels.
Well, as long as it's successful, man, we only wish you the best.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, we'll catch up with you soon, man. I hope you have a great show.
All right, talk to you later.
We'll see you later. There's Randy Mosloski rounding out our episode number 306. Again, online, Napa WinterSLAM. You can find all the details right there on Facebook, the big flyers and everything out there as well. Good luck to everybody looking to make the trip up there to run February the 8th. Good luck to everybody looking to make the run down to Florida here in the sun on February the 1st. We will see everybody down there in Arcadia, Florida. Looking forward to getting down there and seeing everyone. I haven't been to that facility yet, so it'd be nice to check that off. It's been a while since I've been to Florida for any motorsport stuff. I think we're going back into the mid-2000s, 05, 06, something like that. So it'll be exciting to get back down there. New decade, new start down there. That is going to do it for us here. The reason why we are flying solo, the reason why we are on a Tuesday night, Brian had some challenges with his schedule in terms of trying to coordinate the time off and ended up trying to coordinate even further. So he is at work tonight. We had some challenges at home to try and get through. It turned out to be a much more rough Monday than I was anticipating. We got some training stuff to do with the school tomorrow, and then some more training stuff to do with Finger Lakes Race Group on Wednesday night, and then Thursday night it's going to be all points forward. Looking forward to getting down there Friday evening, Saturday morning, depending on how the flights fall, down in Tampa, and then making the trip over to Arcadia on Saturday. So we'll look forward to saying hi to everybody down there. Again, we're going to wrap it up here. Fork in it. It's done. 306. That's it for this edition of the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast. We appreciate all of you folks tuning in at home. We will see you again next week with a full recap of the Florida Southern Nationals. We'll see you then.
Crash Course Live is presented by Smash It Demolition Derby, who host Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, and Capital City Carnage. Online at smashitderby.com. And Stirring Dirt Racing, hosts of May Mania's team show at the Golden Spike Arena in Ogden, Utah. Online at stirringdirtracing.com. Reckless Abandon Derby Apparel, and Derby Inc. Magazine. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York.